Today's video, we are going to be talking about tips that you need to do to renovate for high returns. And I'm gonna break down every step for renovating for high returns. Make sure that you subscribe to this video, make sure you like this video, comment down below any questions that you have. We'll get you a video out there. If you're new to investing, you wanna invest and you wanna learn how to invest, I got two exciting opportunities for you. Number one, we have a real estate coaching program where my average student's first deal is $50,000. They actually had to do the work. We helped them find the property. We helped them secure the financing. We helped them get the deal. We then went over the deal with them in our classroom setting. We helped them renovate the property. We helped them sell the property. And that average price was $48,000. I've had students make up to $127,000. I've had students make $26,000. The median average has been $48,000. Okay, so if you're looking to make an extra almost $50,000 this year in 2025, make sure you schedule a no obligation call with my team. The other thing I wanted to break down for you is I have a real estate opportunity for you. We are going to be raising private capital. That means that you get to invest with me. We're gonna launch it through a site called Fractional. So I'll be raising money for this building that I'm in right here, so I won't be here for very long. We're gonna be turning this into 76 apartment buildings, along with a world-class fitness center, along with a yoga studio, coffee stand, and some other things like that. It's gonna be basically a $25 million asset after we're done. We're gonna be using something called historical tax credits. So if you're looking to invest and you don't want to be active and you want to be passive and you're looking for a great return, you can use your 401k, your IRA, anything like that, and you're looking to make passive income, we will be scheduling a Zoom call, or you can email someone from my team. You can email me, tk@troykearns.com. That is my email address. Someone from my team will get back to you and we'll let you know about the details. I can tell you the spots are limited, but you can invest in future projects. After I get this project done, I plan on doing another big project here locally. I'll always be flipping properties because that's what I like to do, but I'll also be giving these opportunities for folks like yourself. So I'm going to teach you in this video how you can maximize your ROI, your return on investment, how you can complete efficiencies with your flips or your rentals, whatever you're deciding to do, how you can avoid losses, and how you can really plan these things out. I've learned this buying and selling over 1,000 plus properties, representing over 3,000 transactions, learning from the biggest banks in the industry. So this is what I do for the 350 rental properties that I own. This is what I teach my students how to do. And this is what you need to follow if you are looking to invest in real estate and you want to avoid your losses and you want to maximize your profits. I want to be very clear. Renovations can make or break a flip. If you don't have them planned out, you don't have them budgeted, and you pay a contractor incorrectly or you do the wrong things, you basically lose money. You can buy a property right, which is what we teach our students how to do, but if you over renovate or you under renovate or you pay the contractor the wrong amount, you can lose money. So it's very important that you follow the steps that we're gonna teach you in this video. Your goal should always be to get the maximum amount of profit with the least amount of money. What I mean by that is what we tell all of our students to do is you wanna find grandma's house. You wanna find a property that maybe hasn't been touched since 1980 or 1990 or 1970 or 1960 or 2000. And you wanna find something where it's in good physical condition, but everything's outdated. So maybe you have to sand down the floors, or maybe you have to put new floors in, and maybe you have to update the kitchens. Maybe you need a new roof, but these are all cosmetic types of things. Paint the exterior, paint the interior, change out some cabinets. It could even be less than that. It could even be as simple as you painting the inside, painting the outside, throwing a new roof on, doing some small updates. It can be that simple. But the more things that you do, the more money and more things that can go wrong. I'm also gonna teach you in this video why we suggest you manage your own vendors, your own subs, versus hiring a GC, unless you are a GC. Obviously, GCs make sense sometimes, but a lot of times there's costs involved that will make the project too expensive for you to do. So first, I wanna jump into how do you budget for a rehab? A lot of times, the best way to budget for a rehab, and this is before you've actually bought the property. This would be in the stage of you're either buying the property, making an offer, or you're in contract with the property and you're doing your due diligence, right? So the first thing that I recommend that you do is you use a price per square foot model. Use between $20 per square foot. So if it's a $1,000 property, it's about $20,000 rehab, to $40 per square foot. That's a general cosmetic budget. It could be a little bit less. It shouldn't be much more than that if it's a cosmetic fixer-upper, to be quite candid with you. So 1,000 square foot property shouldn't cost you more than $40,000, and it's probably, if you're touching a good portion of it, is not gonna cost you less than $20,000. Now, there's some things that can change with that. You might have to add the roof. Well, then that's not cosmetic, so that might be a few more $1,000. But depending on how low of the rehab is inside, it could be, $20,000 plus a $6,000, $7,000 roof. There you go. So the numbers will still work. It gives you a good general budget before you actually get your working budget. I just want to be clear. Some of these cosmetic flips can cost a lot less. Like if you just need to paint the exterior, paint the interior, paint the cabinets, put some new jewelry on, maybe renovate one bathroom, you might not be at $20,000 or $20 a square foot. And then if you're taking a major rehab, which we do not tell anybody other than people who are experienced contractors, people who are experienced in the trades, which I have many of my students who are experienced in the trades, I don't suggest that you take those on. Definitely don't take on any fire damaged properties, any water damaged properties. But if you are an experienced contractor and you feel good on that stuff, we just need to make sure that you don't over improve the property. That's one problem that a lot of contractors have. Well, this needs to be updated. That needs to be updated. That needs to be updated. We need new windows. We need to do this. We need to do that. No, we don't. And we'll go into more of that detail later. So I just want to be clear. You always want to try to spend the least amount of money and get the maximum return on the money that you spend. So we're looking for cost-effective flooring, 99-cent flooring. We're looking for cost-effective paint. We're looking for cost-effective everything. We're also going to prioritize the things that sell. Kitchens and bathrooms sell houses. If you have an ugly paint color on the outside, you're gonna need to address that as well. If your roof is in bad shape, you're always gonna have to replace your roof. If you have multiple shingle coats, things like that, you're just probably not gonna be able to avoid that. I've tried, it doesn't work. But we're gonna wanna prioritize our kitchens and bathrooms. And one of the best ways that you could avoid overpaying a contractor is knowing the price of what things cost, okay? Let's break it down. Roofing. Roofing is sold by something called by the square. There's 100 square foot in a square. So what that means is what's the cost of a square of material? What's about $110 per square of cost? If I have a 2,000 square foot roof, it's gonna cost me about $2,200 of material if it just needs a basic re-roof without new decking, which is the plywood, without some other new things. It's gonna cost me about $2,200 in material for a 2,000 square foot roof. Now, let's say I need to add new plywood. Let's say I need to add some other things. Then it might increase that cost by a few $100s, at the most $3,000 for that roofing material. Then what you have is called the profit. And the profit, depending on who's doing it, there might be one roofer, two roofers, three roofers, or four roofers. Let's be clear. This is a half a day to full day job. Usually there's a tear off and a put in. The tear off is gonna take these guys a few hours. And generally, if they're running a pretty good crew, they can get it back on the same day or the next day. So you're looking at something where in labor regards, you might be looking at 8 hours, maybe 12 hours in labor. So what are they paying their guys? Are they paying their guys 20 bucks an hour? Are they paying their guys 30 bucks an hour? 40 bucks an hour? Let's say they're paying their guys 30 bucks an hour. That's 240 bucks per roofer. 240 bucks per roofer times two guys is $480. And then you double it for four guys. So the maximum amount of money in labor that they're gonna have is $1,000 or just under $1,000. We got the $2,200 plus the, let's call it $3,000 for all the materials. And then you've got roughly, approximately, it's less than this, $1,000 in labor. So that's about a $4,000 roofing cost. And I'm going high here. Let me just be very clear. This is on a 2,000 square foot roof. So how much money should that guy make for 1 day's of work? Should he make 1,000? Should he make 2,000? At 2,000, going high, it's a $6,000 roof. Good size roof, 2,000 square foot roof. Should he make 3,000? Maybe, but no more than $6,000 or $7,000 should you pay for that roof. But you're gonna get bids for 12, 15, 20, 25, 40. I even had my dad re-roof his house, which was probably about a 12,000 or about a 2,000 square foot roof. He got charged $25,000 even when I knew the industry, because he said it came with a lifetime warranty. Those aren't no good. You just want a nice clean roof. You gotta understand the cost of material so that you know how to negotiate. And some of those materials might be a lot cheaper. Maybe you get that same 2,000 square foot roof done for, you bought your material on Facebook Marketplace, so you paid next to nothing for it. You got the plywood at Home Depot, or you got it on a closeout sale, and you had a few things to do in there, and you got that whole roofing material done for less than $1,000, you might be able to get the roof done for $3,000. So I just want to be clear that you got to know the material cost so you know how to negotiate. You got to know the labor cost, you got to know the material cost, and you got to know how quick the job takes. Roofing is a highly profitable business, but you are not a retail customer. You're an investor, and that's how you're going to be able to get the best cost for your investment. Material costs don't change that much, no matter if you're in North Dakota, Montana, California, Washington, New York. It doesn't change. The Midwest. The material cost is pretty close to the same. What changes is the labor cost. But the labor cost, you might get a roofer who's getting $10 an hour, you might get a roofer who's getting $40 an hour. That's not gonna change that much the total cost of your roof. What's gonna change is how much he thinks he can get away with charging and the time amount that it takes to get the job. A sewer line costs between $3 per linear foot to $10 per linear foot to do that sewer line in terms of material cost. You're gonna have some plumbing, tape, you're gonna have some glue, you're gonna have some minor expenses. So if I'm replacing a 20-foot section of sewer line, it should cost me about $200 in material, maybe $300. How long is it gonna take them to do that job? That is generally a one-day job, maybe even less. They gotta dig up the line, cut out the existing line, replace the line, fill the hole back up, and be on their way. Generally speaking, for most sewer lines. What are you paying for? You know that your material is almost nothing, less than $500. And if they have their own equipment, it's gonna take them not too long to dig that sewer line up. Maybe it takes them an hour or 2 or 3. And then how long does it take to install it? Well, you're just talking about gluing some pipes together. That might take another hour or 2. So at most, it's a full day job if you have a competent individual that can be in and out of that property. These plumbers who do this day in and day out are very competent, they're very good. If they own their own piece of equipment, they obviously have insurance and all these other things, and they're doing a job like that, how much should you pay them? Should you pay them $1,000? No, you're not gonna pay them $1,000. Trust me, that's getting away with it. I've done it, that was 10 years ago. You're not getting away with that. $2,500? I still get $2,500 sewer lines. But generally speaking, a fair price for that job for a regular sewer line, because the feet is kind of inconsequential unless it's really long, is gonna be between $2,500 and $5,000. For replacing a full-blown sewer line. Anything more than that, it would have to mean that there's some major issues. I'm including permit costs in this as well. There would have to be like, hey, they need to go under a sidewalk, they have to do a traffic stop, they can't go into the house this way, they have to cut out. I'm talking about the exterior sewer line. So if they're replacing, generally they're able to go right into the main area. Right? So I'm talking about the general sewer line in your yard or in wherever. If there's concrete involved, there's asphalt involved, those costs are gonna go up, but you see how low it can be. If it's me just cutting a sewer line from the outside of the house, which is generally what you replace, to the main where you connect to the city, that's usually gonna be anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 at the most, okay? If there's other things that need to be done, it could be a little bit more, but you understand how cheap it could be done for. If you know what the hell you're doing, they could rent a piece of equipment for, a couple $100, $400, $500, $600 that day, dig it out, and then once they dig it out, replace it right away. So this is not a complicated job. Don't be bamboozled. I've had a student of me come to me and said, hey, I got a $15,000 price to do this job. I said, you're getting ripped off. It should be like, take a 10 off that, and $5,000 is the most amount of money you pay. They want to make the most amount of money, so you got to know what things cost and how much labor costs. And let's break that down with the plumber. How much is the average plumber paid? This is going to be a 2-man job, just to be clear. So the plumber might be paid $40 an hour, maybe 50. He might charge you guys $80 to $90 an hour for his rate. So if you got 2 plumbers making $40 an hour, charging you 80, and it takes them all day for 1 day, that's 8 hours times $80 an hour. If you're following me, that's $640 times 2 people, $1,280 plus the cost of material. $1,280 plus the cost of material would put you right around $1,600, right? Anything more is profit. Are they willing to work for $1,000 for the day of profit? Do they want $2,000? It just depends on how greedy they are really gonna be, but you need to know your cost of materials. And you're gonna tell these guys, this is what I'm willing to pay. This is not, hey, give me a bid. This is my budget. This is what it's gonna cost. I've got $2,500 for the sewer line. I know that needs to be replaced. I've got this for that. I know that needs to be replaced. You're gonna do far better off than letting them come up with their own numbers. Side tip, whatever budget you do come up with, so after you've run your budget, because right now you've done your $20 per square foot or $30 per square foot existing budget. When you actually get into the property and you're in contract and you're ready to flip it, there's 2 steps to that. The first budget that we came up with is just to make sure that the numbers make sense. Now that we're in the project and we're ready to proceed or not proceed, because we're in contract, we have our due diligence period. Now we have to come up with our actual budget based off of what our estimated budget was based on the price per square foot. And we're gonna come up with a bid based on what we need to have done. So that bid is going to be what we work off. But this is going to allow you to say, hey guys, this is what my budget is. This is what I'm willing to pay. Go ahead and give me your best shot. And once you have your budget built out, and let's say you budgeted between $20 and $40 a square foot, and after you went through the itemized checklist, you came in around $35,000 based off of what the material should cost, what the job should cost, all of those things. Then what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna add a 10 to 15% contingency on top of that number to plan for any mistakes that might happen. Now I'm gonna get into managing contractors. So let's talk about finding and vesting your contractors. So my suggestion is that you always use licensed contractors when you can. There's a general contractor and then there's subcontractors. When I'm talking about that, I'm talking about your subcontractors. I don't recommend that you have a licensed contractor always, unless he is an on-the-job guy. Because generally the big general contractors are managing multiple jobs all around the state or the city, and they're not hands-on, and therefore you don't save any money. And so you can manage this job on your own. And so I recommend, if you're allowed to in your city, that you pull your own builder permit yourself and that you manage it yourself, unless you find a good quality GC that is affordable. A lot of times you can't find that. That's why I'm recommending that way. And you want to be hands-on anyways. You can run the job. Sometimes you can run the job better than they can. And your profit is almost there for that. Like, let's say you're going to profit $60,000 for running this job efficiently. That's going to allow you to save that money, versus you might give another $30,000, $40,000 away, then you didn't make any money because the contractor took it all. So how do you find these people? Let me give you a few recommendations. The first recommendations, friends and referrals. People that you know that have worked with this person. Make sure that you're all licensed. You go to the state and you look them up to make sure that they're licensed general contractors or licensed plumbers, licensed electricians. Make sure they don't have a bunch of complaints about them. This would have saved me thousands of dollars before. I've cut this corner before. You don't want to cut it on your first one. Trust me. When you're getting going on this, just look them up, see if they're licensed with the state, make sure they're insured, make sure they're bonded, make sure they have the proper insurance, and you'll be covered. Go to places like Angie's List. Go on Google, look at his reviews. Yelp is kind of out, I wouldn't use them. Thumbtack, kind of out. Angie's List and Google reviews would be my top spaces. Other places would be like local Facebook groups. But again, in those Facebook groups, those real estate investing groups, you can find them other ways too. You can find them on Nextdoor, find them on TaskRabbit. TaskRabbit's not generally for the licensed person, but they can do a lot of the other stuff where you can pay them an hourly wage. But make sure, no matter where you find them, that you look them up. Make sure that they're licensed and they don't have a number of complaints. And then when you work with them, you want to see a copy of their insurance. Now, after you've done that, and you've made sure that you've checked out their license and you've checked out all these things, and they're generally going to give you that stuff because they have it applicable. You can just ask them to send it, but definitely look it up. You're going to want to see their work. If these guys are employed and they're working jobs, hey, can I see a recent plumbing job you've done? Can I see a recent rehab you've done if you found someone to do your rehab? And you want to make sure if you're dealing with a contractor that they do work with investors, okay? Let me be very clear about that. Not all contractors are bad, just some of them are just too expensive. So if you're working with a general contractor, just make sure that they work with investors, okay? Because they know that volume equals money versus one job equals their entire paycheck. Definitely make sure that you get at least a few references from these guys. Make sure that you check out their work, that you've seen other work that they've done. Check their Google reviews, check their license, and make sure you're dealing with someone who's high quality. And never, ever, 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 never pay any money down on the project unless it's with a credit card. Let me be very clear about that. Never, ever put any money down on a job unless it's on a credit card. If they're fronting the money from the material costs, offer to pay those costs on your credit card. If they're trying to say, well, I need money to pay my guys, then they're not an operator. I will tell you, the contractors I will hire for this property right here, 1044 Main Street, will not require in advance. Nobody charges money up front unless you want them to be your money manager. If you're an employee, you don't get paid up front. People don't get paid for work they don't do. That's how you get screwed. And it's happened to me, and it will happen to you. Okay, so how do you pay these guys? Pay them on a draw schedule. So once you've done your list of things that need to get done, okay, if you got a bad roof, you're gonna start with the roof. Then you might start, depending on the weather, you might start with the exterior, and then you might work your way into the interior. Okay, well, how does that work? Well, demo's gonna come first. If there's any demo, get rid of the demo, right? You might have to demo the bathrooms. You might have to reconfigure some of the cabinets. You might have to pull up the existing flooring, right? That's gonna come first. And you might, at that point, oh, you got a bad furnace that might come out, so on and so forth. But you wanna come up with a draw schedule, okay? The draw schedule is gonna come up with the work done. Let's say the roof is done and you paid for the material costs. They're gonna wanna get paid right away. So right when the roof is done, you're gonna pay them on the roof. The sewer line we just mentioned, okay? Maybe there's a charge for digging out the sewer line, pay them. Maybe there's a charge for putting the sewer line in, pay them. However you wanna set up your draw schedule is up to you. My suggestion is your draw schedule should be item A complete, item B complete, whatever the item is. Item C complete, you get paid. And if there's ever any pushback, you just pay for the material. You tell them, hey, I'm happy to pay as long as I'm paying for the material, or you're accepting a credit card. If they have an issue with that, you're gonna lose money, period, end of story. Why would someone not take a credit card for a deposit? Because if they don't take a credit card for a deposit, then that means they're gonna take your money and rip you off. Period, end of story. And you always wanna make sure the money is in front of the job. So you don't want you to pay them too much money and then them not be completed on that job. You wanna make sure that the work is further along than the money that you paid them, ideally, because then they have to chase the money versus you having to chase them to do the work. So again, you wanna know the costs of materials so that you can avoid getting ripped off. Let's talk about an HVAC unit. Generally, an HVAC condenser, coil, whatever it's gonna cost, for a standard system, might be like $2,000, maybe $3,000, okay? Talking about a split system, a furnace and a condenser outside, might be between $2,000 and $3,000. All in. And I'm not including ductwork, but if you don't need new ductwork, which you generally don't, if it's an existing house, you might need some patching up of stuff. You might pay $6,000, $5,000, $4,000. Any more than $7,000, you're getting ripped off. That should be a $4,000 job, a $5,000 job, a $6,000 job. So just understand what the costs are. How much does it cost for a roll of electric wire for wiring a whole house? Let's say you had to rewire the whole house because it has knob and tube. That would be the only reason that I would rewire a whole house. How much does a roll of wire cost? $220. Okay, how much does the parts on a new panel cost? $500. What about the outside? $500. So maybe in a whole electrical job, you have $2,000 in material costs. These guys can get in and get out in a couple days. Are you paying $10,000 for that? For what? You're getting ripped off. I know a guy who roughed up in his electrical. He's a friend of my mom's. He paid $27,000 to get an electrical job done on a 1,400 square foot basement. Do you think he got ripped off? He goes, well, that was the lowest price. He had one guy trying to charge him $40,000. The bottom line is you gotta know what the costs are and you gotta know how long it's gonna take them. If it takes them too long, then they're just inefficient. Because obviously, if you're going and you're redoing the electrical in a house and it's an empty house and it's got down to the studs, they should be in and out in a day or two. If they gotta cut into the existing walls, chase some new electrical stuff out and rechange it, maybe it's gonna take a few more days. How many guys are on the job? These are all questions you can ask. How many guys are gonna be on the job? 3 guys. How many days is it gonna take you? 3 days. So then you just do the math. Okay, let's say the worst case scenario, you're paying their guys $40 an hour, $40 an hour times 3 guys times 3 days, 8 hours times $40 is $320, times 3 is $660. $660. The material cost, Troy just told me, is around $3,000. That's $3,600 in total cost. What are they charging me? $5,000? That's $1,400 of profit. Are they charging me $6,000? That's $2,400 of profit. Are they charging me $7,000? All of those are reasonable numbers if they have that kind of a crew and they're moving that kind of fast. But when you get to the 8, the 9, the 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, $20,000, then you are getting ripped off. I am completely okay with guys making money, but they're not gonna screw me. If you got one guy, he's like, hey, I can knock this job out in 4 days and I'm gonna do it by myself and I'm gonna charge you $5,000, he might be making $4,000 and he's making $1,000 a day and he's working his ass off. Let's go through licensed versus unlicensed. I'm telling you, you should always use licensed people to do your jobs, especially when it comes to electrical, plumbing, HVAC, any of that type of stuff. Use licensed guys. I don't think you need to use licensed painters. I don't think you need to use licensed drywallers. I don't think you need to use licensed certain other things, landscapers, those types of things. But that's up to you. Always try to use the licensed trades. That's gonna keep you out of hot water. You don't want someone venting in a carbon monoxide item into your basement, which I've seen done before. You don't want someone killing someone, right? So make sure that you're using the licensed guys. Now, again, if you act as your own GC, which if you have your property in your name, generally you can do what is called an owner builder permit. If you're borrowing money because you got a Kiavi loan, what a lot of our students have done in the past is they've deeded the property back into their personal name when they pull the permit, and then when they have to go do a draw, they deed it back into their LLC because Kiavi requires it to be an LLC. So again, if you're in an LLC, chances are, because of state laws, municipality laws, they're gonna require you to actually use a licensed general contractor. It's the law. But if you are an owner builder, that means you're your own person. You can go and pull your own permit, and then you can use whoever you want. Most cosmetic fixer-uppers do not require permits because you're just changing flooring, you're just changing paint, you're doing some bathroom work, you're doing minor electrical, and you're generally not gonna have to do a permit. You know, full gut renovations are completely different. Because of legal compliance, I'm always going to advise you to use a permit. I just wanna give you a warning again. If you pay any contractors up front without using a credit card, you will lose that money. Probably. Don't work with a contractor who's gonna try to overcharge you. If he's not gonna stick to his budget, fire him. Don't pay a contractor money up front. Don't let him change the budget on you. And if he says, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that, if he starts playing games with you, just cut him loose and say, I'm done with you. Just be done with it. It's tough to do. I understand it. I've done this many times, but just move on, say, hey, this isn't working out, and come up with a budget up front. Now let's go through your renovation timeline. If you're doing cosmetic fixer-uppers, they should take you no more than 4 to 8 weeks. And it could be faster. If you got a paint job and you got to do a couple things, it could be 2 weeks in and out. So make sure that your pre-planning is done up front and you have a really good plan up front. Hey, I'm going to execute this. I got this guy scheduled. I got this guy scheduled. I got this guy scheduled. And then you can move through the job very, very quickly. In order to make sure that you have a fast timeline, you need a clear scope of work. If you're watching this on YouTube, we provide all of our students a scope of work. You provide your scope of work and then you put your draw schedule, put it on the front door of the house, not the exterior of the house, the inside of the house, right? Put it all over the house so the guys know, hey, this is what needs to be done. This is when it's expected to be completed, and put it for everybody to see. Again, we're focusing on cosmetic fixer-uppers, but that doesn't mean that it's a cosmetic fixer-upper and the water tank's 50 years old and it's rusted out, that wouldn't still qualify. You just need to add that part in. Or the roof needs to be replaced. It's still a cosmetic fixer-upper that needs a roof. It's still a cosmetic fixer-upper, but the sewer line's bad. These are just things, they're still cosmetic fixer-uppers. When I say cosmetic fixer-upper, I don't want you to get stuck and say, oh, Troy, I can't buy this house because you said only buy cosmetic fixer-upper and it needs a whole new furnace. It's still a cosmetic fixer-upper, it just now needs a new furnace. It's just gonna be this fixer-upper plus that furnace. Or it's a cosmetic fixer-upper, but it's on a 60 amp breaker and it needs a new electrical panel in there because I'm putting in new lights, I'm putting in a new furnace, which is gonna roll a higher charge on it, and because of that, I need to upgrade the electrical panel. Well, now it's kind of a heavier cosmetic fixer-upper with a few more things. A couple tips that you're gonna need to know about if you're doing your flip, and let's say you execute quickly. You're one of my students and you move fast, right? I have a lot of my students who move fast. You're in and out of that job in 4 weeks. You got the whole place done, the whole place painted, new flooring, new bathrooms, new roof, all this stuff. It looks great. Landscaping's popped in there, looks fantastic, and you're like, well, okay, cool, I'm ready to sell it. Got it on the market. In under 45 days, you're on the market. You get an offer, full price. We love seeing that. It's FHA offer. FHA says you can't flip that property in 90 days. You can accept that offer, but you're going to have to wait till 90 days to close that property. And you're probably gonna have to send another contract at the 91-day mark to make sure that you comply with those rules. There's ways around that. You can get what's called a conventional loan. Just say, hey, you gotta switch to a conventional loan because we can't close in time. And then have a lender that helps you do that, right? There's ways to get around that, okay? Just wanna give you that heads up. That's not a bad problem to have. It's just something that you might have to deal with. Moving too fast, sometimes there's a problem. The other thing is, let's say you bought a property for $50,000 and you put 40 into it. Now it's worth $200,000 because you got such a great deal. Guess what? It's double the value and you're gonna require to have 2 appraisals on that job. Doesn't mean it's not gonna appraise, because your comps are comps. It just means you're gonna have to pay for 2 appraisals because FHA requires it. It's not you have to pay for it unless you negotiated that you're gonna pay for the appraisals with the buyer. just means that you're gonna have another hoop that you're gonna have to jump over. Again, guys, these are great problems to have. I just wanna advise you. Let's go through some pitfalls that you can avoid. If it doesn't need new windows, don't add new windows. Look at what the comps are selling for. Are all the comps 1970 houses that have aluminum windows, but you just don't like the windows? Just replace the windows that need to be replacing. Put new glass in the ones that need to be replacing. Don't over renovate. If you're selling a house and you're in Florida and every single comp that you're competing with has new windows and you don't, and you know it's a high hurricane, and you know it's gonna come up on the inspection, you might have to do that. Don't put it in a new driveway. They never make you money. Is the driveway hammered? Okay. What's your price point? Is it $1 million house? Probably don't need to replace the driveway. Another workaround, can you put an asphalt seal on it? Can you guys patch a few of the concrete and then seal it with asphalt and make it look nice? Can you put another layer of concrete on top of it? My suggestion is you use cheap, good-looking materials. I would never, ever put laminate into my rentals, but I will put it in a flip all day long. Why? It's not durable, but it looks great and it will sell and all the builders use it. I would never put LVP in one of my rentals, but I'll put it in a flip. That's what people expect. That's what the builders are putting in. That's what's gonna go in quick, fast, and easy. I'm gonna put hardwood floors in my rentals. I'm gonna put tile in my rentals. They're durable and they last forever, but I'm not putting it in a flip. I will put laminate in my flips. I will put LVP in my flips. I'm gonna put whatever goes down fast, whatever goes down easy, whatever the comps recommend. I'm obviously gonna try to save what I've got. If I've got good hardwood flooring that I can resurface, I'm gonna resurface it. Use budget granite. You can buy prefabricated slabs. You can also tell these guys, hey, do you have any remnants? I'll pay you $1,200 for this, $1,200 for that. You gotta know what the costs of things are, okay? Don't overpay for things. Don't buy the big old slab for $4,000 on a house. You're using budget stuff. A lot of times you can buy prefabricated slabs for around $200 to $300, and you can actually have your tile guy cut it. You need to convince him to do it. Let's talk about some contractor mistakes. Avoid contractors that rip out perfectly good items. You got a vanity, it fits perfectly good in this area. It's a custom built vanity. It's in perfect shape. It just needs a new paint job because it looks old and it's got a pink countertop. Put a new countertop on it. Obviously, weigh the cost of putting a new countertop on it versus replacing that exact one with one you could buy at Home Depot that fits that exact model. But don't tell your guy to rip everything out. Guys who rip everything out, it's because they want to put everything back in. So make sure that you're going through and you're letting them know, don't touch that, don't touch that. Maybe you mark it with an X of blue tape. This is stain, right? Do not rip out. All things that I've done before. You could even go in your house and write with spray paint, you know, save this or tear this out, you know, and then everything with orange spray paint, rip out, everything with blue tape, keep. So if you hire a GC, make sure you're supervising your GC. You should be in there once a day for the first week. Second week, maybe once or twice a week. Third week, once or twice a week, but make sure you're managing these guys. If you're managing it yourself, you want them to come up with a schedule, let the guys know when you expect them to be there, and you're gonna manage that job. Again, this is 4 to 6 weeks of your life, 4 to 8 weeks of your life, and you're looking to make $40, $50, $60, $80, $90,000, $100,000, $127,000. I've seen this happen over and over again. If you're in our community, if you're in our group, we've got your back. We're gonna help you through this process, but you gotta be willing to do the work. You can find a contractor to do it, but you're gonna have to manage him too. Don't overdo things. Don't put new plumbing when you don't need new plumbing. Don't put a new water heater when you don't need a new water heater. If the furnace works and it's 20 years old, and it's perfectly in good shape, get it serviced and provide the people a home warranty. The electrical's in perfectly good shape and it's 50 years old, 40 years old, you may not need to replace it. Just because it's not up to current code doesn't mean that it won't sell. So you need to make sure that you understand these things. You don't wanna under renovate, right? Like if you have a water heater from 1959, which I just saw the other day, it's probably not gonna pass the smell test. But if you have a furnace that's, 20 years old, 25 years old, which I see all the time, works perfectly in good shape, but the condenser is hammered, just replace the condenser, keep the furnace. Again, inspectors, the guys who actually are inspecting the house, not the city's inspectors, but the inspectors when you go to resell it, they're always gonna make a note of everything. They're gonna find every single thing wrong that they can. Doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that it may not be up to current code, that it may be a potential issue. And when you deal with those types of issues, it's just a negotiating tactic when you go sell the property. My suggestion is always offer a credit and deal with any health and safety items. And it depends on the market, obviously. If you're in a seller's market, take a credit, move on. If you're in a buyer's market, which we're at currently right now in May of 2025, I do a lot of the items. Oh, you need this done, you need that done, you need that done. Again, when they ask for that, You're gonna say, hey, you agree to take the property as is. So make sure that you negotiate all those things. Don't over renovate it. I don't care what you like. Don't go all the way. Don't make this the showpiece. Every time I've done that, I've done this before, you're gonna end up losing money. Okay, I just wanna tell you the power of minimalism. The most money I've made on the houses are the ones that I bought, like maybe they're 15 years old, 10 years old, something like that. They're just kind of trashed. Nobody took care of them. I went in there, I painted the house, I painted the cabinets, I added some jewelry on the cabinets, I cleaned up the garage, I put a new roof on the property, maybe not even a no roof, and I made the most amount of money. So the least amount of work that you can do is always gonna be generally the way you make the most amount of money. So just wanna be clear about that. You do not have to buy the biggest piece of crap. You wanna buy a property for a great value, and you wanna do the least amount of work that's gonna net you the most results that you can turn as quickly as possible. That's the time velocity of money. Lipstick flips is what we call them. Make sure you do those. That's gonna make you the most amount of money. Let's summarize. Budget, pre-budget, before you get the property and you're ready to close on it, base your cosmetic flip on $20 to $40 per square foot. Next steps, get your first flip, apply these rules to it, do the least, earn the most, and stick to what the comps look like, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, follow, and share. If you're looking to make an average of $48,000 on your next flip and you're not in our coaching program right now, I suggest you do it. I also want to let you know that not one student of ours has ever lost money on their first deal. Once you learn how to do that, you can make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I would love for that to happen for you, okay? It's happened to many of my students. Many of my students have become millionaires and multimillionaires. If you'd like for us to help you with that, help you get your first 100, your first $50,000, schedule a call with my team. We're in here, we're doing it. We want to help you. We've helped hundreds of people just like you. Make sure that you take action. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share it, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.